Yeah, so Farwell4Hire started back in 2014. So this is our 10th year running the campaign. And it was just an idea that I had after fundraising for many years and kind of getting tired of the usual ways of fundraising, like sending out emails to everybody in my contact list or talking to my friends and family, hey, would you sponsor me for the walk at the end of May and that sort of thing. So I thought, well, I wonder if there's a way I could do it without making the ask. And so I offered instead, I'll come and mow your lawn. I'll come and wash your car. And when I do that, you could make a donation to cystic fibrosis. And it worked so well in that first year. We raised $20,000 in the month of May 2014 that I realized I'd stumbled onto something accidentally. And here we are into our 10th year, so 9 years later, having raised more than $1 million for cystic fibrosis research, and still, by all accounts, going strong. People ask about it. They seem to recognize that it's coming up on the calendar, so they're not sick of me yet. And the reason I started all of this is because cystic fibrosis is very near and dear to my heart. Two of my sisters died from cystic fibrosis, and it remains today the most common fatal genetic disease affecting young Canadian adults and children. And so until we find that cure, I am determined, in memory of my sisters, to keep doing as much fundraising as I can. The most interesting jobs that I have done are those that took me out to rural parts of our community and had me interacting with animals, be they horses or livestock. Look, I am a city boy through and through, and I think some of my rural friends had a good time at my expense in that regard. But hey, it's all for a good cause, so I've learned a little bit along the way about rural life and being on a farm and livestock and horses and all these different things, and it's been a great experience for me.
So if someone from the community or an organization wants to hire Farwell, what can they do to get in contact with you or your team to get that going?
The best way to do it is to send an email to farwell4hire@gmail.com. So that's my name, Farwell, the number 4, hire@gmail.com. We do fill up pretty quickly, which again, all these years later, is a good thing. I think they're not sick of me yet. We're filling up slots very quickly already. But if you use that email address, farwell4hire@gmail.com, I try to work in about 2-hour windows because there are lots of requests. But if you've got something that you think I could do, and really the best part of this is you're making a donation to a charity that means a lot to people in this community, then send that email, farwell4hire@gmail.com, and we'll schedule you in if we can. So I do it in memory of my sisters, and my love for them is what motivated me to do this. But I've met so many people in the cystic fibrosis community over the years that have benefited from the work that we've done. I'll never forget, and I can't remember how many years ago it was now, but we were doing our big barbecue with Brady's Meats in Waterloo, which is one of our signature events. And they came from Wingham down to Waterloo because they had heard about our campaign and they heard about all this fundraising that happens in Waterloo region and what was the big deal, what was going on here. And I was introduced to their infant, Trey. And I'm going to say at least 6 years ago, because he was recently at our walk now in Waterloo as, you know, a young boy. So it was really cool for me, just the way it spread through the cystic fibrosis community. And then our niece, who also suffers from cystic fibrosis, got onto Trikafta, which is the latest medical advancement for people living with cystic fibrosis. And every single person that I've talked to that has been able to get onto the Trikafta regimen has said it's an overnight success story. It changes things dramatically in terms of their lung function, and that this young girl who is, oh, she's going to kill me, 16, 17 now, but in her teens, can be on this drug now means that we are just prolonging her life, which is what this is all about. So I'm so happy to hear stories like that along the way. We have definitely seen advancements, and one of my favorite things to remind people is that the best research into cystic fibrosis is being done right here in Canada. We've got some tremendous minds at Sick Kids Hospital and at McMaster and across this country doing great things. So that makes me really happy to know that the money that we raise goes right into research, and that research is being done right here in Canada. But Trikafta would be the biggest one. It's the latest breakthrough, and anybody who is able to get access to it, and we have access to it now right here in Canada as well, which is great. It's an overnight change to their life in terms of how much better they feel, how much more energy they have, how much easier it is for them to breathe. And that's come along in the past 10 years of us doing this. I'd just like to remind people that it's something that I refer to often as an invisible disease. So it is, as I mentioned earlier, fatal. There is still no cure. But if somebody in your class, in your workplace, had cystic fibrosis, you might not otherwise know. Those of us in the CF community can recognize the raspiness in the voice or the cough that is associated with it. It's a pretty distinct cough. But really, you wouldn't know that the person is suffering from it unless you knew how to pick up those signs. So more than anything, I would just like to remind folks that, hundreds and thousands of people in our community are dealing with this on a daily basis. You might not recognize that they are dealing with it, but the support that you give to this campaign helps to make their lives better, helps to make their lives easier. And I'm so grateful for that support that I've gotten in this community to make this work happen.